And welcome once again to Living in the 21st Century. Joining me today is Robert Nichols from Boston Trust Realty Group. My brother, it's always good to got you on, man.
Thanks for having me today, Errol.
Yeah, there's a lot going through my mind right now when it comes to real estate. And we know that if there's one market that are very, very sensitive is the real estate market when it comes to economic shifts and trends, right?
Correct.
So here's the thing. Recently, there's a lot really going on, and we know that there are tens of thousands of jobs that government workers may be laid off if they are not being laid off already. Leadership is calling for companies like Walmart and Target, these big companies, to get rid of black workforce. On top of that, the labor force and turnover here in this country is like crazy right now. There's so much going on, and how is this going to affect the real estate market directly and indirectly? The reason for is that the stability and economic stability of a person to own a home, to qualify for a home, is going to solely depend on their job. Both at the high-end jobs and at the low-end jobs. Obviously, for the low-end jobs, there may be people who just renting, but they are renting from a landlord. If the landlord doesn't have tenants to rent the house to, they have to get them out, but then they have to find ways of paying their mortgage and so forth. What kind of environment we are really looking at now before we really dive into this thing?
Great question, Errol. So I believe that we are going to see the economy struggle a bit, right? Trump came in with a wave of uncertainty, with a wave of change, and we saw very quickly that he was looking to eliminate jobs, get immigrants out of the country, and many other eliminate in what they call waste, right, in the government. And so I think that definitely is going to put a lot of pressure on households, on families that are dependent on those jobs to earn income and build generational wealth. The other side to it, Errol, is we're seeing ICE, right, obviously is pushing to get illegal immigrants out of America. And so with all of their efforts, we're seeing construction jobs sites with less people available to work. The workforce is shrinking, which is going to cause labor to go up, labor costs to go up, which is then going to make it more expensive to build, which is then going to make it more expensive to buy a home as well. So there's a lot of pressure in the market right now on many fronts because of policy changes. And what I would say is I think that over time, we'll start to see things ease if the economy does start to obviously have a lot of pressure. The Fed will drop mortgage rates to try to stimulate things. We have not seen that happen yet, Errol. The main reason why is inventory is still very low. It's still near historic lows. Just with so many people who have mortgage rates from years ago, 2-3%, post-COVID. And so now rates are at 6, 7, and maybe tick up a little bit into the mid 7s. And that is really going to make it way less affordable. So my advice to a lot of people, if they're thinking about buying real estate now and, they do get laid off or they're underemployed, just sit tight and wait, right? I don't typically say that. I think if you qualify to buy knowing that you can marry the house and date the rate. Have you heard that before?
No, this is the first time, actually. I love it,
so marry the house, right? Buy the house of your dreams. If you can afford it and you do qualify for a home, and it may not be the home of your dreams, it's your first home, not your last home, but buy that house knowing that you can get a better rate in a few years and make the home more affordable. So if you can afford it comfortably today, it'll be even more affordable tomorrow. So that's what I would recommend for folks who are out there. But I will say that we are going to see a lot of pressure in the marketplace and a lot of folks that will not qualify for now until rates maybe come down or the economy kind of gets stable.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the spiraling down of the economy. There's a big fragment. There's a big crack in the economy right now. Whether people actually choose to see it. But my concern for this generation and those who would have this concept of the American dream, do you see eventually, because this is just like 2 months into a new government, and all hell break loose. And based on what I'm hearing, And we have to look at the subliminal messages that comes in between some of the leader speeches. I'm not going to call it names right now. The leader speeches, right? And the concept of having competent white men to run the country based on their concept of competency is really an insult to the balance of the nation, because we got competent people of all races, all classes, all creeds, etc., that capable of doing many things. But it's not so much about competency, it's about the wealthy, the affluent, the rich aristocrats to run things just to keep a certain portion of people at a certain level in wealth, right? Now, the medium-sized entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs like yourself that, I don't want to use the word struggling, but have to go out there and go and get things, make things happen, continuously strategize. It worries me how they're going to really have to wrap their minds of keeping a successful business going, considering this dark drought that real estate is going to be experiencing. And I say that bluntly because the reality is that I know above all other industries, if there's one industry that very, very sensitive to the shifts of the economy, is real estate and the real estate market. And by rights, I hope that government got the common sense to recognize that real estate is basically one of the most economic backbones of any country's economy. I mean, many nations depend solely on real estate to keep their gross domestic product alive to some degree, right?
Correct.
And I'm saying this because we got to look at it realistically and practically. Government just sending home illegal immigrants. I mean, when this thing first started, we had like over 30 Americans got arrested, right? They're sending home both legal and illegal. If you got a minor misdemeanor or a little tiny offense, you go with those who are illegal too. I mean, that is troubling, right? You can't find perfect people in our nation. And when it started to happen, your people who depend on each other to pay a mortgage and pitch in when the month comes to pay a mortgage and keep things going, with that money gone, eventually there will be a foreclosure by the bank. You can't satisfy your monthly mortgage, or you got to work hard and do 2 more jobs. Think about it, the quality time you may now have to spend with your children, and then your children get violent and they lash out. And I mean, there's so much chaos that is brewing. And it often wonders, and I'm now looking at a household as more than just a simple physical house, but the culture that lives within that house that enables each other to get along every day and service a mortgage or service a loan, or a mom can say, well, you know what, in 5 years, maybe I can sell this home and get a multifamily home and increase my chances of earning some more income. Those are dreams that smart entrepreneurs would creatively develop in their minds, but all of a sudden, it's fading. How now? The onus is upon smart men like yourself to encourage people to not give up on the dreams, but work with this thing as it goes through this phase.
Yeah, no, definitely. So what I would say to that, Errol, it's real, right? We've got pressure on labor with people getting deported, and obviously all kind of chaos going on that side, on the immigration front. We've got chaos on tariffs. That's also throwing a very challenging monkey wrench into the economy and into the ability for people to create wealth. And so my response to all of this, Errol, I talk to a lot of people. It's hard, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a saying I heard many times, many years ago, and I want to say it correctly. They say, hard times create great men create good times create bad men create hard times, right? And so we're kind of going through that cycle right now where it's going to be a hard time, but this is when it's time for us to be innovative. It's time for us to have faith, and it's time for us to find ways to ensure that we can still achieve the American dream. And the solution in my mind and what I'm seeing people do is that it takes a village. People are coming together, Errol. So before, maybe you would have a husband and wife come together and buy a house. Now, I recently heard a story. There were 5 or 6 high school friends that came together, pooled all their money together to buy their first multifamily. I think it was in Philadelphia. And so while it's harder and while it's going to be very challenging, the responsibility is still on us to have that faith, have that courage, and to be innovative and to come up with strategies where we can come together, and find people who are equally yoked, like-minded, who are ready to really pursue that dream. And, I think that's the blessing in this, right? Because I agree, it's unprecedented and there's a lot going on right now, but there's always a way for people to leverage what little they have, because what little you have, and then what little your friend has, and your other friend, and another family member, it becomes enough to be able to start to build wealth, to start to understand what it takes to get your piece of real estate, your piece of America, your piece of passive income, and to create wealth. So I would really encourage people to start really understanding that there's more ways to do it than we sometimes can think of if we're just trying to do it on our own. It's a collaborative business. And then the other piece is people have to start getting educated on what it looks like. What does the process look like? How do you buy a home? I started a free community recently because I really want to empower people to be able to communicate, to come together and learn. I've got free courses in there. We do Q&A sessions. We do live events, all for free, because it's really an effort to just teach people the process and allow people to really get started. And if they need more support and help, great, we're here for that as well. But that's really what it's going to take, an innovative approach. It's going to take a village, and it's going to take people coming together in one accord to make this happen.
Absolutely. You touched on a specific point there, the tariffs that government now wants to put on these countries, where they import large amount of steel from and so forth. Now, I want to look at real estate from a more, rather than the domestic aspect of it, the commercialized aspect of it, those people who build large hotels and apartment buildings and so forth. And how do you view it from the standpoint that building no apartments to house people in it is going to skyrocket the kind of rates that may be charged to rent a room or an apartment and so forth, with the job market considering where it's at. What the survival rate is really like, basically, because I'm trying to figure it out. You have apartment buildings going up every day, I see them, and considering people realities when it comes to work, it don't look so promising anymore. This generation is like saying, you know what, my workplace don't treat me good, so I'm giving it 1 year and they're gone. I'm giving it 2 the most, and I'm out of there, right? They're not building any financial substance. They're not building any, they're not building any kind of wealth that you go to the bank or someplace to harness a loan, they're going to get it. I know I asked this question earlier. What then would be America coming to, where the American dream itself, everyone dreamed to own their own homes, right? And the reality is not so real anymore. This 4 years we talk about having this present administration, 4 years. And I'm not seeing anything constructively enough right now that point towards building a strong economy. Because if one's concept of building a strong economy is by putting tariffs on other countries where they can send their bills up high for the domestic people to purchase things, it's not government thinking that by doing this, we are going to finally absorb that price. We are going to be the victims of that price. And I heard Trump said, well, if they raise their taxes on us, if they raise their tariffs on us, we will raise our tariffs more on them, right? I mean, is there some foundation of knowledge in your brain telling you, well, this one sounds right? Because then who are going to bear the burden at the end of the day? People hardly earning money now. People pay PATs are getting cut. Children graduating out of school with a school loan, they're getting the smallest dollar that can be paid per hour, whatever the case may be. Or even though they got the credentials, right? How are they designed to survive? Is it that the wealthy is going to just run things according to it, to how they believe, and the poor man that went to school and do his best want to come out and start life, but life ain't so real anymore. It's not so practical. You come and knock on Robert Nichols and say, no, Robert, could you help me get a house? You give him some of the best advice, but reality says, you know what? Oh man, I got a huge school loan to pay back. I only get X amount per hour where I work. I got a job right in my field that I graduated for, but it paid me so little, and they're telling me I don't have the experience and knowledge. Where's real estate pointing to in this new time and season? Where is it going?
Yeah, no, tariffs are real, and they're going to have an impact both on construction. The bigger projects are a lot of the developers at the highest level building 100 units. They can absorb those tariffs and make it work. They can, a lot of them already are getting their products direct overseas. So they're not going to Home Depot. There's a whole procurement process that cuts out the middleman. But I would say anyone building 50 units, 30 units, 25 unit structures, which we really need those. Those are the guys feeling it the most. They are hurting. And what ends up happening they're not able to build right now because rates are high, materials are high, and labor costs are high. So a lot of projects that are approved, I just financed a project for a friend of mine, 50 unit project, he's approved. So we financed him to close on the lot, but for him to try to build it, it would not make sense right now. So he's just gonna sit on that lot. He paid $3 million and he's just gonna sit until rates come down, labor comes out, or something gives so that he can provide the housing. And obviously a component of those housing that he's building are affordable units as well. But to answer the other side of your question, I would say, Errol, right now, when I talk to a lot of folks, and I'm glad you asked that question because that's a real conversation I have with a lot of people right now. Like, Robert, I'm in my 20s, I'm in my 30s, I want to get started. I'm working a 9-to-5 job. My income is fixed, it's limited. What do I do to really find a way to make it through this time and really grow and earn enough money to where I can start planting some seeds, sowing some seeds to invest? And so what I've done, Errol, in addition to having the real estate business, I recently launched a community called the Investor's Edge. And we teach people how to invest in cryptocurrency. We de-risk it because crypto is very risky if you don't know what you're doing. We also teach people how to invest in the stock market. And we also teach people how to leverage automated trading systems and algorithms to allow those vehicles to make money, make residual income. And the goal of this program, Errol, it's very affordable. I have experts that come on every week. But the goal of it is to allow folks who have 9-to-5 jobs or full-time careers to begin to make more money from the side hustle than they do from the full-time job. And then from there, now they'll start to build in that next nest egg where they can invest. Because I believe, Errol, that times have changed. And the way we used to do and have to try to save and save and save, it could work if you have the right job and you're making enough to do it. But life goes fast, man. We don't have all the time in the world. And what's changed is there are a lot of technologies out there that are available to us that we didn't learn in school. We didn't learn it in college. We didn't learn it in grade school. You didn't learn it anywhere, right? And then you have a bunch of stuff all over the internet. You don't know who to trust. And Absolutely. So I really curated an environment where people who want to make money, want to build wealth and build a legacy can engage. They can learn from people that are trusted. And, there's no risk of losing money or anything like that or being scammed because it's your money. You control it. but they give you the tools, they give you the training, they give you the vehicles that you can now put your money in and allow these systems to work for you under your control. And that's really what I've developed because of what you said, Earl. I did that just last month because exactly that conversation you said, people come to me like, what do I do? Like I'm working as hard as I can and I'm still not making enough. But the beautiful thing about this and the blessing is that there are so many other vehicles out there now that weren't out there before. We just have to find a way to tap in, get that knowledge, and apply it to really allow us to start to achieve our goals financially.
Absolutely. One other thing I want to ask you, I know that banking and credit unions, they're both in the business of giving loans to facilitate the needs of a person who wants to acquire a home. The credit union, on the other hand, give you some very, very cheap rates, and the bank simply don't. Do you see a shift where more people may tend now to run to the credit union? And if they do, bankers see that the whole philosophical view of how credit unions conduct their business may simply change the way how banks conduct theirs and still put people in that squeeze of acquiring a loan?
I'd say, Earl, what I've seen with banks is that they fundamentally run on a premise of make money at all costs, right? You put your money in a bank, they're paying you, 0.025%, and they're lending it on a credit card at 20%, right? You're making $2 on, the money, and on $1,000, let's say, and they're making $20 on the thousand, right? 10 times as much. Absolutely. And so there's no balance. There's no fairness. I mean, credit unions are vehicles set up more for the people. And that's really where you're going to be able to, in many cases, get better terms, better service. And you're working with an institution that really isn't driven by greed. And I said it's the truth. I deal with a lot of banks. I've seen how they operate. It's greed, greed, greed. They want every penny they can squeeze out of whatever deals they lend and all of this. And so that's where credit unions have the advantage for sure. And I'd recommend people to explore some of the alternatives as well, because again, it's a very different model. And especially these days, I mean, when rates go up, banks don't complain at all. Even though they may be doing less loans, they're making more per loan, and they're just fine with that. When rates go lower, bankers don't really like that, in my experience, because it's a lot of volume, but they're not getting those big bonuses and not making those huge returns per deal. So it's interesting the way the banks and their goals aren't necessarily aligned with the people's goals, whereas credit unions really more want to provide a service to help people. And obviously they're going to make some money, but they're more community driven.
One other thing too, considering everything going on at this point, a lot of people may end up losing their homes, right? And may have a lot of homes there on the market, whether it's on foreclosure or otherwise, people trying to sell their homes. And this may call for a drop in the market price on homes and houses and so forth, which may make it affordable for the normal man to buy, but it's still at the same very time, he may not be still qualified for those homes. So would we be in a position just having homes there on the market doing nothing, probably rotting and decaying, and no one want to buy them? What do you think would eventually happen?
So right now, foreclosures are up. We are seeing that. There's starting to be an uptick in foreclosures this first quarter already. Mm-hmm. And the crazy thing is, they're selling. Only because there isn't a ton of inventory. So there's more demand still out there than supply. And not only demand, but pent up demand. People who've been kind of just waiting. And so when you have a historically low inventory, we haven't seen a lot of homes kind of sit. I will say, interestingly enough, the sector and segment of the market we're seeing homes sit is the luxury single family homes. They are not moving, man. People are waiting. And I'm talking, 4 or 5 million and up, Newton, Brookline, Weston, Wellesley, these regional areas where it's very affluent. It's become interesting. People are just being way more selective. and way more demanding about what they want. And they're just waiting for the right house. They're not going to pull the trigger quickly. And then they want a deal because they know these developers are hurting. And so that's the segment of the market that I think we're going to see a lot more pain and carnage than kind of your everyday condo or single family home. Granted, I think last year we peaked the median single value of a Massachusetts home peaked at over 600,000 for the first time ever. I think this year we'll probably level off. You know, we'll be very close to that. It may trend down a little bit. We're kind of seeing a leveling off, not a trail down. So okay. I think for the most part, the market's still healthy. And we don't necessarily, I don't necessarily see a ton of homes just kind of sitting, because sellers are finally starting to get realistic, and they are going to drop the prices until the buyers' expectations and sellers' expectations align, because they got to move, man. They got to get these homes sold.
Okay, quick question, because we only have like 2 minutes left. So for a person who have a home and have a good plot of land next to their home, could they like subdivide that home and probably build an apartment building on it before having to use their next home as collateral?
Absolutely. So a big part of what I do, Errol, I'm a development consultant as well. And so right now I'm helping multiple people get units approved on their adjacent lots or additional dwelling units added to their existing property. So that's something you're seeing really come up this year. A lot of people are looking to leverage that. And it's a beautiful thing, man. It's honestly, that's a great question. And it's something I'm doing every day for folks.
Well, I definitely have to talk to you, because I have a big plot of land next to my home. And
you can do an ADU now, Errol. The laws just changed this year. They just changed within the last quarter here.
I'm definitely going to talk to you.
Excellent.
Well, we come to the last minute. So if there's anything you want to say to conclude before we go.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Errol. It's always a pleasure. For anyone out there looking to learn real estate and grow, I have a community. It's on a website called school.com/REI Club. That stands for Real Estate Investment Club. And I'd love to have you join. It's free, like I said, to everyone. And it's just really a great way to educate yourself on the market, to really learn how to build wealth, to make money in a tough environment, and to be around people who are like-minded, all striving for greatness.
Well, on that note, Robert, we want to say to all those who have been tuning in, have a great day.